I think more shock and dauntingness was more the feeling I felt. But it was, the thing is, it's
Something irreversible just happened inside the highest financial corridors of a monarchy. The kind of moment that doesn't announce itself with ceremony, but with silence so sharp it feels intentional. In a decision that sends shockwaves through every layer of royal authority, Prince William has taken direct control and frozen access tied to Camilla's influence over the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund. No warning, no public signal, just a sudden administrative lock that redefines power inside Balmoral Castle and leaves even senior courtiers stunned into silence as the reality settles in. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Inside the framework of royal estate governance, the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund has long operated as a protected financial structure, a private backbone that quietly sustains key estate operations while remaining shielded from visible, internal disputes. It is not just money on paper, it is control, legacy, and continuity wrapped into one system that rarely sees interference at the highest level. For years, Camilla has maintained indirect influence over estate-linked financial oversight through long-standing advisory proximity to King Charles III, a position built on trust, familiarity, and years of proximity to the inner circle of decision-making. William does not speak about what he is about to do. Those around him later describe him as visibly composed, almost unnervingly still, as if the emotional weight has already been processed long before the action itself. But beneath that calm surface lies something sharper, a sense of finality, not negotiation. A line being drawn that cannot easily be erased once crossed. At the same time, Camilla experiences the shift in real time when a trusted aide enters her private space and delivers the message without hesitation. Access credentials linked to the trust structure have been suspended, effective immediately, and without consultation. The mechanism behind it is not loud. It does not need to be. The freeze is executed through a quiet administrative override that bypasses the informal palace channels designed to soften or delay such decisions. There is no debate, no meeting, no gradual escalation. Just a direct authorization that locks the system from the top level, cutting through layers of expected protocol. In a separate office, a senior financial steward pauses mid-review, eyes fixed on the screen, as the realization settles in, this is not a technical glitch. It is authority being enforced in real time. Word begins to move faster than anyone can control. Whispered confirmations pass through Balmoral's internal corridors until they reach the highest level of urgency. King Charles III is alerted mid-briefing, the interruption cutting through a controlled environment that suddenly no longer feels stable. The monarch does not react immediately, but those present notice the shift in his stillness, the kind that signals a private calculation forming behind composed silence, a reaction no one in the room is prepared to interpret or interrupt. In a silent Balmoral estate office, a financial controller slowly lowers a pen after receiving the system alert, staring at a frozen ledger screen that refuses to refresh. The glow of the monitor reflects back an unchanging truth. Access has been locked from above, and nothing on his level can reverse it. No one speaks, no one moves. Only the realization that the structure they have always trusted has just changed without asking permission. But behind this single act of frozen access lies a far deeper human conflict that began long before today's shockwave, and the people at the center of it are already bracing for what comes next. To understand why the freeze on the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund cuts so deeply, one must look beyond policy and into the fragile human web binding the monarchy together. Prince William is not acting as a distant administrator, but as a future monarch stepping directly into financial authority. At the same time, Camilla stands at the emotional center of a system that suddenly no longer trusts her proximity to control, and the balance between loyalty and authority begins to fracture. William moves through the weight of responsibility with a calm that feels practiced, almost inherited. He has spent years quietly absorbing responsibility tied to estate governance, particularly around long-term preservation of royal assets, learning how decisions made in silence can shape decades. Those close to him describe a steady focus, not driven by impulse, but by structure, as if every step forward has already been measured against what the monarchy must become. At the same time, Camilla's role inside the royal framework has never been written in firm lines. It has been shaped by trust relationships rather than written authority, built through proximity, familiarity, and years of being present where decisions are formed rather than announced. William carries something heavier than procedure as he watches the system tighten around him. He is protecting institutional stability while also holding the pressure of personal family, sensitivities that cannot be spoken aloud in official rooms. Every decision feels like it splits into two directions at once, duty on one side, consequence on the other. Camilla, meanwhile, is struck by something she does not expect. Distance. Not emotional distance first, but operational separation. She is blindsided when it becomes clear that her proximity to decision-making is no longer enough to guarantee access or influence, and that realization lands without warning, without preparation, without soft landing. A private briefing note begins circulating through estate management channels, carrying language that immediately changes the tone of every conversation it touches. It references restructuring of trust access hierarchy under direct heir oversight, a phrase that quietly signals a shift no one can easily reverse once it begins. Courtiers who once spoke freely about financial oversight begin to withdraw, lowering their voices, stepping out of rooms early, avoiding direct comment. It is not open conflict yet, but it is something close, an institutional retreat that speaks louder than any announcement. Inside that atmosphere, King Charles III receives the first confirmation that the decision did not pass through traditional consultation. The monarch is informed through a documented internal account delivered during a private engagement briefing, and the reaction is immediate in its stillness rather than volume. It is not just the decision itself, but the bypassing of expected consultation that changes everything, setting the stage for a private confrontation that could redefine authority itself. Inside a quiet corridor, Camilla pauses mid-step as a staff member hesitates before handing her a sealed envelope, refusing eye contact. The silence around that moment feels heavier than the message inside it, because it confirms what she already senses, that something fundamental has shifted, and no one is willing to say it directly. Yet none of this tension appeared overnight, and the roots of this fracture stretch back to a single moment that no one inside the palace has fully spoken about until now. Long before the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund was frozen, something small happened that carried the weight of everything that followed. Something that did not look dangerous at the time, but later became impossible to ignore. In a closed-door financial review held months earlier, a confidential document linked to estate allocations was questioned directly by Prince William, while Camilla defended its structure without sensing the ground shifting beneath the room. That moment would later be remembered as the point where trust stopped being automatic and started becoming conditional. William doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. A structured review of estate-linked financial instruments is already underway under routine governance procedures, the kind meant to keep everything stable, predictable, controlled. The room is built for order, not conflict. Yet something in him is already moving differently. The Balmoral estate system itself has been under quiet modernization pressure tied to senior heir oversight planning, meaning decisions are slowly being pulled closer to direct future authority rather than traditional advisory layers. That shift is invisible on paper, but impossible to miss in tone. William sits forward, eyes fixed on a document that carries more weight than its language suggests. His tone stays controlled, but there is firmness underneath it now, something that wasn't there before, something that signals a change in posture rather than policy. Camilla notices the question, but not the meaning behind it. To her, it feels procedural, like another layer of review inside a system she has navigated for years through trust and proximity, rather than formal authority. She answers without tension, unaware she is no longer just responding to a question, but being measured against a new standard that has not been announced out loud. The focus tightens on a single document buried inside the review, Deferred Estate Access Allocation Draft. It is not dramatic on its surface. It reads like structure, like administration, like routine governance language. But inside that meeting, it becomes the center of everything. William reads it twice, slowly, not because he doesn't understand it, but because he is deciding what it means going forward. Camilla watches him carefully, still believing this is a discussion about process, not principle. The difference between those two things is where everything begins to break. A senior clerk later describes what happens next in a private recorded account shared internally with estate oversight. The document copy is quietly removed from circulation after the meeting ends, with no formal explanation attached, no announcement, no clarification, just disappearance. That absence begins to circulate through internal channels as uncertainty. Not scandal, but uncertainty is often how real fractures begin inside systems built on silence. William closes the folder slowly after reading the same paragraph twice, the movement deliberate, almost final. Camilla doesn't speak. She doesn't interrupt. She simply watches him, noticing for the first time that the air in the room has changed without anyone saying a word. The decision has not been made yet, but something irreversible has already started forming between them. And when that buried tension finally resurfaces, it does not arrive as discussion, but as confrontation. The silence inside Balmoral breaks in a private confrontation that changes everything. Prince William steps into a closed chamber where Camilla is already present, and no aides are allowed to follow. The air feels sealed, heavy with what is not being said. This is not ceremony. This is control, taking shape in real time. What unfolds is a direct clash of authority and trust, where words are measured, pauses are heavier than sentences, and every glance carries the weight of a decision already in motion. William does not rush. He never does when something matters. The meeting has been called under the official framing of estate clarification, a phrase that sounds harmless on paper, but carries deeper meaning inside Balmoral's administrative structure, the internal system that governs land, finances, and legacy assets tied to royal estates. That structure has already begun reflecting William's increasing oversight, not as a symbolic heir, but as an active decision-maker stepping into authority earlier than tradition once allowed. Camilla understands the framing, but not the shift beneath it yet. Not fully. William sits without easing into the moment. His calm is controlled, but it is not soft. It feels like something decided long before the door closed. He carries emotional restraint that reads less like uncertainty and more like finality. There is no negotiation in his posture, only direction. Camilla watches him carefully, still holding on to composure, shaped by years of navigating influence through proximity and trust, rather than formal authority. But something in his silence begins to unsettle that balance. Because this is not explanation. It is restriction forming shape. The first break in the room comes without speech. William places a sealed governance summary on the table, slow and deliberate, without offering context. The document carries formal structure, tied to estate oversight, a controlled internal directive used to manage access and operational authority across royal financial systems. Inside, it is a line that cuts through everything else. Suspension of non-core access privileges. It is not debated. It is not softened. It simply exists there, already decided, already active in principle, before either of them speak. Camilla's eyes move across the page, and something in her expression changes before she says a word. The realization is not loud, but it is immediate. Her composure begins to fracture at the edges, not into chaos, but into disbelief shaped by control slipping out of reach. She looks up at William, searching for explanation, but finds none being offered. That absence speaks louder than any argument could. William does not explain because, for him, the decision is no longer in motion. It has already been made. Camilla slowly pushes the document back across the table, the movement controlled, but heavy with meaning. The paper slides forward, But William does not return it. He does not acknowledge the gesture. He does not soften it. The space between them becomes the real conversation now, filled with everything neither of them is willing to say aloud. That silence triggers something beyond the room itself. Internal estate systems begin registering downstream alerts tied to governance, adjustments, escalating quietly through administrative layers that were never meant to react this fast. And behind this silent confrontation stands a deeper force shaping every decision, one that has been building control long before either of them entered the room. Behind the visible clash between Prince William and Camilla lies a structural shift that has been forming for months inside royal governance systems. What looks like a personal confrontation is actually the surface of something far deeper. A controlled transition of estate authority has been tightening quietly, where oversight mechanisms tied to Balmoral and broader royal assets are no longer distributed across traditional advisory channels. They are being pulled into a single chain of heir-directed accountability, precise, deliberate, and already in motion long before anyone in the room speaks it aloud. William moves through that system with a calm that feels less like reaction and more like alignment with something already decided. Internal estate governance frameworks have been gradually restructured to prioritize direct heir oversight, not as a symbolic gesture, but as an operational reality that changes who can approve, who can restrict, and who can override. Balmoral's trust systems sit at the center of this shift, embedded in a broader modernization of royal financial control structures that has been unfolding quietly, away from public attention and even away from most internal awareness, until the effects begin to surface. A senior financial officer notices it first, not through announcement, but through motion. System permissions begin updating in real time, one layer after another, and the change is too clean, too unified to be accidental. There is no hesitation in the sequence, no delay, just authority, cascading downward through layers that used to require consultation. The officer doesn't speak at first, he just watches the screen, realizing that what he is seeing is not a proposal or a review cycle. It is final execution of structure. And once that realization lands, it cannot be reversed in his mind. Camilla sits alone in her private quarters when the second wave arrives. The silence around her feels heavier than usual. Not because something is missing, but because something has already moved without her. She processes the shift slowly, carefully, the way someone recognizes that proximity no longer guarantees influence. Influence does not equal authority anymore, and that difference cuts deeper than any direct confrontation. She does not react loudly. She doesn't need to. The understanding settles in quietly that the system she once navigated through, trust, has already redefined itself without asking for permission. Authorization logs later confirm what no one says out loud in the moment. A single consolidated approval signature has overridden multiple advisory layers at once, compressing what used to be distributed authority into one point of control. Hidden within that structure is a clause labeled Heir Continuity Safeguard, a mechanism designed for stability but activated now in a way that locks decision flow rather than merely guiding it. That activation is what triggers the freeze, and it does so without debate, without escalation, without warning. A palace administrator sees the confirmation appear and quietly closes a laptop without calling anyone. The authorization stamp has appeared cleanly, instantly, without the usual consultation delay that normally slows such decisions. That absence of friction is what makes it undeniable. No one asks questions in that moment, because the system itself has already answered them. It has chosen direction over discussion, structure over hesitation, control over ambiguity. King Charles III is informed mid-engagement through a documented internal briefing that interrupts the controlled rhythm of his schedule. The king does not respond immediately, but the shift in his posture is noted by those closest to him. There is no protocol prepared for this kind of timing, no expected framework for a decision that arrives already complete. Only the realization that authority has moved faster than conversation. And as this power structure locks into place, The consequences begin to spill outward into every corridor of Balmoral. The moment the freeze on the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund takes effect, everything inside the palace changes its rhythm. Not slowly, not subtly, immediately. Camilla is informed that her access has been suspended, while Prince William remains unreachable as internal systems redirect all estate-related queries upward. The decision is no longer an idea discussed behind closed doors. It is operational now, active, absolute, and it is already reshaping how every staff member inside Balmoral understands authority. Camilla receives the message without movement. Camilla does not speak at first. She simply listens as the words are delivered through a formal internal briefing call. The kind used when estate governance changes require documented confirmation. The estate systems themselves enforce the new restrictions automatically, without hesitation or human delay. There is no appeal window in the moment, no soft transition. Balmoral staff protocols demand immediate compliance with updated authority hierarchies, and those protocols activate instantly, forcing every office, every ledger, every channel to adjust at the same time. Inside that silence, Camilla experiences something far more destabilizing than confrontation. She experiences stillness, a deliberate choice not to react, not because she is unaffected, but because reaction no longer changes the outcome. Her aide stands nearby, struggling to maintain composure while relaying the update. Internally through a second confirmation channel, voice tight, controlled, breaking only slightly under the weight of what is being repeated. The aide has no power to soften the message, only to deliver it. Across the estate network, internal messaging channels begin rerouting financial queries, away from traditional advisory offices tied to Camilla's long-standing influence. Requests that once passed through familiar hands now shift upward automatically, redirected toward air-controlled oversight layers without explanation. A second-level audit trigger activates at the same time, not as punishment, but as procedural response to a governance shift large enough to require system verification. It is not personal in function, but it feels personal in impact. Camilla finally lowers her gaze, but not her composure. She sits in a chair that feels unchanged, yet everything around it has altered meaning. Her hands rest motionless on a closed folder placed in front of her, a folder she no longer has permission to open under the new access structure. That detail lands quietly, but fully. Something once routine is now restricted, and that restriction carries more weight than any spoken instruction. A senior palace aide tries to relay reassurance through tone rather than content, but even he cannot disguise the shift. His voice carries strain, not defiance, because he understands the system is no longer in negotiation mode, it is in execution mode. Camilla does not respond to him directly. She does not need to. The silence between them becomes the answer neither of them can officially give. Within hours, the news reaches King Charles III during a private moment recorded in a documented internal briefing exchange delivered mid-engagement. The king receives the confirmation without interruption, but those present notice the shift in his stillness, the kind that signals internal calculation rather than visible reaction. It is clear that this moment will not remain contained for long, because what has been triggered is no longer administrative, it is structural. Camilla remains seated, hands still on the closed folder, while the palace around her continues to adjust in real time to a decision that has already moved beyond reversal. But the most decisive reaction is still to come from a meeting that has not yet begun, where silence will matter more than any statement. Inside a private corridor, away from formal briefing rooms, Prince William encounters Camilla without aides, advisors, or institutional framing. The air feels stripped of ceremony, leaving only distance, silence, and consequence. What follows is not a formal exchange, but a moment where power is no longer carried by documents or titles. It is carried by presence alone. The Balmoral Estate Trust Fund freeze is already active, already absorbed into estate governance systems, and already shaping decisions that cannot be rolled back through procedure or negotiation. William slows as he sees Camilla before him, but he does not stop completely. The freeze remains active, fully integrated into the estate's operational structure, meaning every channel of authority tied to Balmoral now responds under the new hierarchy, without exception. Both of them understand this without needing it spoken. No procedural reversal has been initiated. No correction is coming. That absence sits between them like something heavier than words. Camilla speaks first, but not loudly. Camilla does not raise her voice, she simply seeks clarity, as if naming the change might soften it or reveal a path back through it. William listens, but his restraint is not uncertainty. It is emotional closure forming in real time. He carries no visible anger, only a stillness that suggests the decision has already been processed beyond discussion. The silence he holds is not empty. It is final. A brief exchange breaks the corridor's stillness when William acknowledges the situation without elaboration, confirming through tone rather than detail that the decision was intentional, not procedural error. There is no defensive framing, no institutional distancing. That lack of explanation becomes its own message. In royal governance terms, an internal authorization override a single decision that bypasses advisory layers to enforce direct authority has already done its work, but neither of them name it. They do not need to. Its consequences are already visible in how nothing can be undone. Camilla searches his face for something that might reopen meaning, but finds only distance, shaped by necessity rather than emotion. She realizes that what she is standing in is not a disagreement, but a completed structure. William does not step closer. He does not soften the space between them. He simply continues walking forward, leaving Camilla standing in the same place where the conversation collapses into silence. Camilla stops walking mid-corridor, her movement halting, as if the realization catches up to her body before her mind can fully process it. William continues forward without turning back, his steps steady, uninterrupted, as if the corridor itself has already moved him beyond what remains unresolved. That moment becomes the final physical separation between decision and acceptance, between authority and consequence. And while the palace absorbs this silence, the outside world begins to notice cracks forming in a story that cannot remain hidden. The story breaks beyond palace walls as headlines erupt across global media, framing the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund freeze as a defining shift in royal authority. What began inside silent corridors is now everywhere at once, on screens, in papers, in breaking alerts that refuse to slow down. Prince William and Camilla are no longer private figures in a contained decision. They have become central symbols in a narrative that now belongs to the public, not the palace. Every outlet pushes the same question. What does this mean for the balance of power inside the monarchy itself? Media outlets push deeper, circling the implications of estate governance restructuring with growing intensity. The Balmoral system is not just presented as financial management, it is framed as symbolic. Control over legacy, land, and institutional continuity. That interpretation spreads quickly, especially because Balmoral itself carries weight beyond administration. It is a place tied to memory, authority, and identity within the monarchy. And now, that symbolism becomes part of a global debate happening in real time. Camilla appears in commentary segments not as a participant, but as a focal point of interpretation. Observers note a perceived emotional distance between senior figures, reading silence as fracture and restraint as separation. At the same time, supporters of different royal branches erupt across online platforms, splitting into competing narratives, some seeing necessary modernization, others seeing irreversible rupture. William, meanwhile, is framed through a different lens entirely. Control, discipline, and the weight of inherited authority now actively being exercised rather than anticipated. A front-page newspaper headline captures the moment in stark language. Silent financial realignment at Balmoral. The phrase spreads faster than explanation, becoming shorthand for everything no one fully understands yet. In a live broadcast, an anchor pauses mid-report after reading updated confirmations, then lowers their notes slightly before emphasizing the shift with unusual seriousness. The tone changes in real time, moving from reporting to warning. The anchor says, "This is not routine, It is structural. The words land harder than any official statement, because they suggest permanence rather than speculation. William is mentioned in analysis segments as the future king actively shaping institutional direction, while Camilla is discussed in contrast, positioned at the center of a system now being reinterpreted through new authority lines. Neither appears publicly, yet both dominate the narrative in absence. That absence becomes its own form of presence, fueling interpretation faster than any clarification could slow it down. Outside Balmoral Castle, a gathering begins to form as public attention physically converges on the estate itself. People arrive not for ceremony, but for meaning. The castle gates become a symbol of unanswered questions, with cameras capturing every movement, every shift in atmosphere, every sign that something larger is unfolding behind closed doors. A television broadcast captures the moment that defines the escalation. The presenter lowers their notes, pauses longer than expected, and looks directly into the camera. The room behind them is quiet, but the message is sharp. This is not routine, it is structural. No correction follows. No softening comes after it. The statement stands on its own, and the silence that follows feels heavier than the words themselves. But while the world reacts in noise and speculation, the monarchy itself reaches its final internal reckoning. In the end, the freezing of Camilla's access to the Balmoral Estate Trust Fund becomes more than an administrative act. It settles into history as a defining moment in modern royal authority. The silence it leaves behind is heavier than the decision itself. Prince William stands firmly within a restructured system of heir-led governance, not as someone reacting to change, but as someone now embedded inside it. Camilla is left confronting something far more personal than policy. She is facing the emotional reality of diminished influence inside a structure she once moved through with quiet certainty. The monarchy does not fracture publicly, but it changes shape from within, permanently and without reversal. William does not celebrate the shift. William does not speak of victory. His quiet resolve carries the weight of continuation rather than triumph, as if the outcome was never meant to be dramatic, only necessary. The estate governance shift is now fully embedded and operational, meaning the Balmoral system no longer exists in transition. It functions under its new structure, without hesitation or exception. Balmoral's trust framework reflects consolidated heir oversight, locking authority into a single directional flow that cannot be casually dispersed back into older patterns. Camilla moves through her private space, without urgency, but with awareness that something irreversible has settled. Camilla processes the outcome in solitude, not with protest, but with recognition that influence and authority are no longer aligned in the way they once were. That realization does not arrive loudly. It arrives like silence that refuses to lift. The emotional weight is not in confrontation anymore, but in acceptance of permanence. Inside internal governance channels, confirmation systems continue to repeat the same status without variation. The freeze is marked as permanent unless reversed by heir authority, a condition that removes ambiguity from the structure entirely. No further objections are recorded, no competing authorizations surface, and no secondary corrections appear in the system logs. What was once a shifting decision has now settled into final form, reinforced by absence rather than noise. Camilla closes a drawer in her private quarters. She does not reopen it. The action is small, but it carries finality. It reflects a personal recognition that access once taken for granted no longer exists in any operational sense. At the same time, William sits alone reviewing estate files, his focus steady, uninterrupted, not seeking validation or reaction. Neither of them reaches outward anymore. The distance between them is no longer situational, it is structural. The monarchy enters a new phase defined by centralized heir control and rebalanced influence, where authority no longer flows through informal proximity, but through direct, consolidated governance. The change is quiet, but absolute, and it reshapes everything it touches without needing to announce itself again. This moment marks a structural turning point, where authority consolidates, influence is redefined, and the monarchy quietly transitions into a new internal order, one shaped decisively by William's control and Camilla's reduced role within the Balmoral legacy. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.